Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I am Gregory McBurney. Let's take a look at the headlines. Trinidad and Tobago to enter oil and gas partnership with China. International Women's Day 2014 celebrated as calls are made for greater equality for women. And TNT Mortgage Finance Company Limited appears before the Joint Select Committee. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Trinidad and Tobago will enter into a partnership with China for exploration in the oil and gas sector. Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar gave some insight into the agreements signed following her trip to China during Thursday's post-cabinet media briefing.
Coming from her trip to China, Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar says an MOU signed with the Asian state will seek to develop new areas in the energy sector here in Trinidad and Tobago, as well as the Caribbean. Unveiling some of these plans at this week's post-cabinet media briefing, the Prime Minister says the MOU will seek to develop green energy in the region.
An MOU between the Ministry of Energy and Energy Affairs of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago and the National Energy Administration of the People's Republic of China was signed. This MOU seeks to foster green energy initiatives in Trinidad and Tobago and the CARICOM region. The MOU will facilitate cooperation on scientific, technical, and policy aspects of energy efficiency and clean energy technologies through the exchange of ideas and information.
The Prime Minister says these areas include expansion of the downstream sector as well as sharing of natural gas with the Chinese.
Some of the main areas of cooperation in the MOU include cooperation amongst state-owned and other entities engaged in the energy sector, the establishment of joint ventures and partnerships in the field of oil and gas exploration and production and downstream energy projects, the assessment of the potential for the supply of LNG to the People's Republic of China, cooperation on the development and utilization of new technologies related to natural gas, inclusive of LNG for vehicles, CNG for vehicles, and for natural gas cooling systems. The facilitation of the exchange of expertise and research in order to promote capacity building in matters related to the field of renewable energy.
According to Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar, the Chinese expertise in the technology sector puts them forward as a vital partner in synergizing other areas of the economy. She says as a result, the energy partnership will also push for the greater use of CNG in the transport arena.
In addition to the government-to-government MOU, another MOU was executed between state-owned NGC, that's our company, and Chinese company ENN Energy. This MOU specifically deals with the implementation of the CNG initiative. The MOU also considers the use of natural gas, LNG, as a transport fuel, which has applications for maritime transport in Trinidad and Tobago.
Meanwhile, she added that agreements signed will also see aircraft from China introduced into Trinidad and Tobago, as well as support services for the medical and health sector.
Recognizing the importance of the development of air service links between our two countries, an MOU between the Ministry of Transport of Trinidad and Tobago and the Civil Aviation Administration of China was also signed by the Honorable Winston Dukran, our Minister of Foreign Affairs. This MOU, signed by the parties, was done on the understanding that discussions with respect to the conclusion of an air services agreement to regulate the conduct of air services between both countries will be ongoing with a view to concluding the agreement at a later date. Public health. A protocol between the Republic of China and the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago concerning the sending of a Chinese medical team to work in Trinidad and Tobago was signed on February 25, 2014. This protocol will facilitate the dispatch of a medical team.
Kimram Calawan, News 4.
Carnival 2014 has ended but is receiving rave reviews from members of the private and public sectors, so much so that it is being viewed as one of the best carnivals in the history of Trinidad and Tobago.
For many, the Suntans, Soul Muscles, and soca music on their MP3 players and iPods continue to haunt the minds of those who are said to be suffering from Carnival Tabanca. Hundreds of thousands of locals and foreigners continue to speak of their experiences on the nation's streets during Carnival Monday and Tuesday this year. From the transcending music and mesmerizing costumes to the major competitions and various exhibitions, Carnival 2014 has been deemed a success. This was further backed by Minister of Arts and Multiculturalism, Dr. the Honorable Lincoln Douglas, during Thursday's post-cabinet news briefing.
This year, Carnival 2014 to me has been one of the most successful carnival we've had, if not the most successful carnival we've had, and to that we are grateful and thankful to major stakeholders, the Ministry of National Security, for their constant and their vigilance and their availability to the national community by being on the streets of Trinidad and Tobago, on the ground, making sure that the area and the place was safe in general. The Ministry of Health was there. I was on the streets. I saw Ministry of Health officials examining different trucks all along the way. I was surprised and greatly encouraged by their efforts. The National Carnival Commission, the NCC, who is the custodian of this national festival.
The Honourable Minister vowed that his ministry's agencies would continue to build on the experiences of carnivals past and ensure that citizens are given a product that they can be proud of.
The Ministry of the Arts and Multiculturalism, through their stakeholder organization, the NCC, and the other organizations, are committed to making Carnival more organized, more attractive, interesting, and engaging for the local and international stakeholders, participants, spectators, and most of all, committed to the idea of making Carnival not only a festival, but an industry in which all can benefit from and make a contribution to the economy of Trinidad and Tobago.
Minister Douglas thanked the various stakeholders and sponsors for the overwhelming support that contributed largely to the experience revelers, tourists, and even competitors received. He noted that this year the sponsorship received a significant increase.
In the area of the management of the finances, for the first time in quite a while, we were able to work within the finances allocated to us and produce a carnival without securing any debts. The security, as I mentioned before, played a great part. Regional carnivals, most of you will know that we have over 52 regional carnivals, meaning anywhere you go in Trinidad and Tobago on Carnival Monday or Tuesday, you will find mass or something going on. If you go to Brazil, you go to Toco, Sangre Grande. I myself, I went to Arima, Carapichaima, San Fernando, Paramin, and it was just amazing to see the turnout of people and their involvement. In some ways, these regional carnivals have been so successful at the expense in terms of attendance at the Port of Spain venues.
This year's carnival received great international attention from journalists and visitors from the African continent who are said to be looking for investment opportunities in Trinidad and Tobago's carnival.
The government of Trinidad and Tobago see what we do as an investment to help with the transition, as I say, of the festival to an industry, to locate the areas that are income generating, how we can export our cultural products like Mas, Pan, Calypso, Soca, and Chutney. Carnival also crosses a number of sectors. We want to look at its intersection with tourism, hotel accommodation, visitor stay, the length of the stay, the number of flights in and out of the country, spin-offs in terms of taxis and car rentals, etc., food and beverage and restaurants, participations, things that are happening at the shopping mall. All of these are ways that Carnival continue to impact economically on the budget and on the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and so it is very important.
Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
We'll take a short break, but stay with us. Women make up 51% of the world's population and are responsible for 66% of the world's output. Throughout the years, women have struggled for respect and equality, and this year's International Women's Day observance will be used to further advance the cause of women in Trinidad and Tobago.
The early 1900s were a time of great expansion and turbulence in the industrialized world that brought about booming population growth and the rise of radical ideologies. It was around this time that International Women's Day was first observed, with Trinidad and Tobago first celebrating this significant event since the 1950s. The significance of this event is recognized in various degrees and has been met with a progressively growing awareness. The network of NGOs for the advancement of women continues to lead in these celebrations, and this year has chosen to focus International Women's Day 2014 around the theme Women in Enterprise, Equality Means Business. As in the past, a number of activities have been planned at various venues all over the country by private and state agencies. This year, the network will join the National Union of Domestic Employees and Women Trade Unions in Arima on Saturday, March 8th to host a rally and march. Also on the agenda for IWD 2014 celebrations is a prayer and thanksgiving service, which will be held in conjunction with the Hindu Women's Organization on Sunday 9th March at the Lakshmi Narayan Mandir in Swedas Road, Freeport. On Monday, March 10th, another important event is the one-day Women in Enterprise Conference to be held at Napa, which is expected to assist in the advancement of women in Trinidad and Tobago by empowering them in enterprise. Incorporated in the calendar of events, the network partners with the Ministry of Gender, Youth and Child Development as a roving business clinic for women entrepreneurs in rural communities will also afford women throughout the country to benefit from the public education and advocacy drive. The new millennium has witnessed a significant change and attitudinal shift in both women's and society's thoughts about women's equality and emancipation, and this trend is expected to continue with private and public sector agencies working with the interest of women at heart. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
On Friday, the Trinidad and Tobago Mortgage Finance Company appeared before the Joint Select Committee. The TTMF was established in 1965 and employs some 134 persons. The TTMF is co-owned by two major shareholders, the National Insurance Board, which holds a 51% stake in the company, and the Government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, which holds the remaining 49%. Managing Director of the TTMF, Ingrid Lashley, has shared details on the TTMF's recent We Make House Calls campaign and their Fixed at 6 campaign.
The We Make House Calls campaign was an outreach program based in the essence of our marketing strategy that suggested that we should not wait for our customers to come to us. We needed to go out to our customers. And on that basis, we met our customers at their offices, at their homes, in community centers, in the malls, wherever they wanted audience, we would make an attempt at such an outreach. In respect of the Fixed at 6, as you're aware from our written questions, written responses, TTMF cannot compete with its competitors on the basis of pricing. Because we do not raise funds by deposits, of necessity, our lending rate is a little bit above that of the commercial banks. But at the same time, we offer flexibility in pricing that will allow for lump sum payments or prepayments at any time. And we offer stability in interest rates that also allows the customer to anticipate what his or her obligation will be. We used the essence of the stability in interest rates as opposed to the pricing to develop the campaign Fixed at 6. And that has been our most successful campaign over the last 10 years.
TTMF caters for employed persons with a gross monthly salary that does not exceed $8,000. As a lending company, the TTMF works closely with the Land Settlement Agency for the recently established Land for the Landless program, which falls under the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development.
Under the Land for the Landless program, TTMF is working with the major stakeholder in that venture, which is the Land Settlement Agency, in defining the program for the recipients as defined by LSA. In other words, LSA identifies the recipients. They're sent to TTMF for pre-qualifications, as I had been explaining the process earlier. And on the basis of those pre-qualifications, the LSA will allocate the land accordingly. Because the program is relatively new, we have not had anyone come for mortgage application at this juncture, But we have been talking to the LSA on the structure of the program, on the requirements of the program, how they would manage construction on these lands, which professionals we will share in respect of evaluation and feedback on the construction as it progresses. And I would say that we're well on our way, including documentation in respect of any indemnities or structure in the relationship between LSA and TTMF.
According to Ms. Lashley, the duration to acquire a mortgage takes approximately 1 month. She also gave details as to their processes to acquire property and also their retrieval processes for delinquent mortgages.
Our delinquency management strategy or policy requires that the customer be reminded of the non-payment of his or her installment 10 days after it becomes due. That is usually via telephone call, and the call is minuted. Once the following month's end comes around and that payment has not been received, we document what we consider to be the oversight and write the customer indicating that you've missed your payment and another one is coming due, so you now are overdue by so much. Having not received the payment by the second month, we write a letter that is a little more stern, that indicates to the customer that if you do not get in touch with us to make some kind of arrangement for payment of the mortgage, we will have no choice but to seek the interest of the company for recovery of the funds. After the third month, if not having had any feedback from the customer in order to make such an arrangement, we will send what we call an indicative demand letter. That is, a letter indicating that if you continue not to pay, we will have to demand on the mortgage. That is, you will have to pay us the full amount of the funds advanced. Usually at that stage, the customer would come in and we attempt to make some arrangement that will allow for repayment of arrears within 6 months.
Sports news is on the other side of the break. Stay with us. And now to sport news. Former national footballer Nevik Denoon continues to be a leading figure for the sport in his community by using his MOVA Elements Football Academy as a tool to develop young footballers. Needless to say, Denoon was a willing contributor when the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association's grassroots clinic rolled into his area. Here is Wayne Cunningham with more.
When you talk about football in MOVA, you must mention the Denoons, and in particular, Nevik Denoon. The former national and Defence Force striker is still a leading light for the sport in his area, but now he takes on the roles of coach, teacher and mentor. And he's happy that MOVA is the fourth stop in the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association FIFA clinic.
We call it grassroots program coming from FIFA. You know, and we're fortunate to be one of the ones chosen at this time. Especially, you know, the turnout we had here, I'm glad, especially this time it's Carnival in Trinidad and Tobago. You know, I mean, that showed the love and the passion that we in this community have. And sports in this community is what is needed, you know. Many of the athletes, due to the geographics, they have no choice to have the physiology needed for sports and these things. If you watch eSport as Spain sports, watch the primary school sports and see who for the past 20-30 years, you will see eSport as Spain. It's the fellas who go into these schools on the hills and valleys, able to develop the muscular system that required for speed and stamina and all the exercise.
The MOVA Elements leader called for more education and public awareness in order for MOVA to be appreciated.
The main important thing right now is little tangibles for the kids here in MOVA who are underprivileged. You know, MOVA Lavanti kind of deserted. People ain't come in because of the mindset, the stigma. We need to change the intellectuals and professionals stigmatizing MOVA, which we continue to produce national and international athletes. I think we've been treated like, for want of a better word, bastard child, you know. Look, right now, in Lavanti, boys, government, primary, don't even have a male school teacher. So let's see what the problem is. It's a whole psychosocial problem you're having. But who willing to come and build the cat? We need to get the educators to come in and make that contribution. Educators, send in the professionals, get teachers who really want to go in. The journalists who willing to go on the front line then, that's what we need. To get that result. Journalists who willing to go the distance.
The Ministry of Planning and Sustainable Development recently upgraded the facilities at Coconut Drive in Morvant through the East Port of Spain Development Company, and the noon called for other entities to follow the government's lead.
We were privileged to have this committee given by Mr. Botiwari on the 25th of August last year, and that is after years and years of
begging.
Yeah, not begging, so to speak, but I think the voices now being heard and things starting to turn, so the wheel now starting to move, no matter how small, we give thanks for that. I'm saying, if we have that economic independence, or if there's that financial and corporate support, then a lot of the areas that you have in here, the youth going to be occupied in it. Look, equipment is one of the major concerns, right? So we're having a deficiency in equipment, no boots, no gears. These jerseys they bring here will go such a long way, just a long way, because many of the kids here will come in and see, don't just stand outside and go past and lay down.
Right.
Down. Come in, man, and we need people to come in and make a simple contribution that will go a long way.
Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
When we return, consultations to develop Carnival into TV and film productions. Stay with us. For Trinidad and Tobago's Carnival to experience growth and infiltrate international markets, it must meet international standards, and one way of ensuring this is to develop the Festival of Carnival into television and film productions. With this vision, the National Carnival Commission of Trinidad and Tobago has sought expert consultation in the development of TV and film assets for international distribution and consumption.
The idea of having international film experts to assess Carnival potential in international TV and film was the brainchild of the National Carnival Commission of Trinidad and Tobago, and this was done in 2014 in collaboration with the Tourism Development Company and Caribbean Airlines Limited. According to the NCC, it has recognized the need to diversify the Carnival product. Local media were introduced to representatives or executives from international multimedia corporations such as HBO, Media 108 Corp, a distributor and content purchaser affiliated with Netflix and iTunes. Feed Your Heart, a production company that specializes in music video and documentary production, and Trace TV. Speaking at the post-Carnival media briefing, NCC marketing strategy and sponsorship consultant Ian Royer explained the idea behind this latest NCC venture.
The NCC recognized the need to have the Carnival product examined to assess the potential of developing TV, film and music assets in 2015 and beyond. As such, a forum of international experts were brought together in order to give some perspective on the equity of our Carnival products. Today we have professionals with us who have been exposed to an intense program including Cambule, the Carnival Village, Kaisorama, Big Friday, Kings and Queens, Fantastic Friday, Soca Monarch, Kiddies Carnival, Panorama Finals, the Marsh Gras, Juve, Old Mass and Paramin on Monday, the QP Queen's Park Savannah stage. We took them to the Soca Dome as well. And then they spent the afternoon on the road with the Carnival band Fantasy. We also had a meeting with the Trinidad and Tobago Film Company for an exposure of the local film scene and where we're at, and we were fortunate enough to work with TDC to take them on 2 tours of the North Coast and Tobago in conjunction with the THA.
When the panel met post-Carnival, its preliminary findings were discussed. Leading off the discussion was Miss Diane Bissoon, a native Trinidadian who lives in Miami. She is also a network executive with over 15 years' experience in sales, marketing, and product development, content acquisition, and negotiation.
It was a totally different experience for me, but it was also very pleasing and exciting in some ways, because I got to see firsthand what's available, what we can do with what we have here. We have some incredible talent and some amazing pieces that definitely has great potential and reach not just within the region or within Trinidad itself, but internationally. As y'all know, we have, I don't know, probably millions and millions of second, third, fourth generation that live in the diaspora market, but also in other areas like Africa and the Far East. So it was really good to see, and I'm actually excited about the future for where Carnival could go in the next 5, 10, 15 years. I don't see anything but good things happening, and like I said, it's great potential. We have all the right ingredients, we have amazing talent, and I think it's really just now pulling them all together to support the growth of Carnival internationally.
The panel of experts will submit a full report to the NCC within a few months' time for consideration. Felicia Wilson, More News 4.
Well, with that, we wrap up this edition of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services and the Ministry of Communications. I am Gregory McBurney. Have a safe weekend and thank you for joining us.